Karyn Bryant for MMA Heat. I'm here with Joseph McKelheer and Eben Kostbar. They are the writers and producers of The Hammer, which is a film about Matt Hamill's life. Matt Hamill, as you all know, is a now retired UFC fighter who was completely deaf and made it all the way to the UFC, and really just a great man. And it's a really great story. And I guess, Joseph, I'll ask you first, what was the impetus behind even making this film?
That's actually an Eben thing. We were partners in making films, and we were looking for a project. And after several months of just being exhausted by not finding the right content that we could make for the budget that we had access to, he saw Matt Hamill on a reality show and just called me up. He's like, "You got to see this."
Yeah, that's exactly. I was like, you gotta see this.
No. But he's a compelling character.
Yeah, he definitely is really inspiring, and there's not that many Matt Hamills that kind of show up every, they only show up once in a while, and I was immediately drawn to the story, and luckily Joe and I had a chance to go meet Matt, and the rest is history. So it's finally coming out.
So what did he think when you first approached him? Did he think he had a story worth telling?
Well, this was back in the when people still use MySpace, which we actually MySpaced him. Is that still around, MySpace?
Barely.
And Eben contacted him through MySpace, and we weren't sure. I mean, we were intrigued to the point, but it's tough to find someone that you can make a movie out of their life. It's pretty rare. And we interviewed him one time, and the story just kind of unfolded itself. I mean, he has a very interesting story, and we knew right away after that interview.
Now, I know how I've sold it to people, but if you were to package it into a catchphrase or a marketing phrase, how do you describe the film?
I would say it's the Rudy of MMA. I mean, that's probably the best I could describe it. It's a very inspiring underdog, classic sports underdog story with the MMA and wrestling as the backdrop. So if you're looking for a good sports story like Rudy, Rocky, Hoosiers, movies in that kind of world, then you'll really like this film.
What's your favorite movie?
Rudy's my favorite. I know it's cheesy, but I love that film. And Rocky. I mean,
you'll notice there's a few Rudy moments in the movie.
Yeah, you'll notice there's a few moments that we kind of
couple Rocky moments
inspired by, or whatever we could say that.
No, they're blatant
rip-offs. We just literally wrote it, and we're like, ooh, I like that from that film.
I think the correct term is homage.
Homage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and actually, too, a little bit of the Blind Side feeling, that feel-good feeling, too. I mean, that's a great movie that did very well, sports movie.
I think The Blind Side, it actually came out, The Blind Side came out after we had finished filming, and there's a lot of similarities to the movie, and I think with our film, we were surprised when we were traveling the festival circuit and testing the film that it was testing better almost with the female audience, and as the Blind Side did the same. And so they're very similar in that way. And they're also about an athlete that's currently active. I mean, obviously Matt just retired, but at the time when we finished, he was currently active. And the Blind Side, Michael Orr was obviously playing at the time too, so that had a lot of similarities in that respect.
Well, and I can say as a woman that I have seen it, and I thought it was terrific, and I think it does resonate emotionally as well as hit the sports fan in me. I'm a big sports fan too, so I thought it had both. Now, obviously with Matt, it's a difficult story to tell in that he's deaf, he can speak. How do you know when you're making the film whether to use a hearing-impaired actor or what to do about the subtitling and all of the sort of mechanics of making the film?
I think, we did the best that we could. I mean, our big thing is we wanted to make a good film, and it's so hard to kind of balance all those things, And in regard to the deaf culture kind of aspects of the film, we thought it was really important to put deaf actors for the deaf roles because nobody's going to bring that authenticity like a deaf actor. Obviously actors could play any role, but we thought that was really important for the authenticity and also for kind of opening up some doors and some opportunities for some deaf actors. And but we spent, 3 years kind of really exhaustively researching, important things and correct things, that to represent their culture properly. it's hard to explain in a quick 2 minutes, but we spent a lot of time to make sure that this film is something that they can be proud of, the deaf community can be proud of, and also a lot of hearing people will watch this film and learn a lot about them as well.
Yeah, and as we made mistakes, you know, a lot of deaf people on our team would be quick to tell us, like, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, okay, so how do we do it? So, I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes, and I think hopefully we got it right, and hopefully, you know, it'll be a film that the deaf community is proud of. We certainly are.
Well, I think they are, but just in my seeing them react at the film festival, there were a lot of tears. I think there were tears for Matt's story, but I also think there were tears for them feeling like their story was getting told.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely underserved, and I think there's the times that there are shows or movies with deaf characters or about the deaf community. I think they miss the mark more times than not, and so I think it's nice for them to see somebody that at least really made an effort to try and get it right, and you know, hopefully, you know, they'll all feel that way, but can't make everyone happy.
Well, and no offense, what I liked about the movie is it showed that deaf people can be jerks, can be this, can be that. I mean, you know, you feel like a lot of time they're sort of glorified because, oh, they have this handicap, and so now they can only play good guys in movies, and it was kind of cool to see the jerks and, you know, the liars and the cheaters and all that. They're regular people.
Yeah.
And that's what we thought was really interesting. When we actually first met Matt, it was great because we got a chance to really get his story, but we met him at a deaf residential school with, you know, all the student body and the faculty are all deaf. And so it's the first experience for Joe and I. We're walking in to 3,000 deaf people, and they call it, you know, the slang term is Deaf Town, and they tell you to turn off your voice, and, you know, even if you don't know sign language, really just kind of try and immerse yourself. And that's where I think we really, as writers, kind of experienced a lot of the things that we eventually put down on paper and that now are on the screen. Like you said, some of the characters and the nuances and the jokes and things that we just had no clue about. But, you know, just like any culture or any group of people, you know, they have, you know, they're just like anybody else, but they also have interesting things about their culture that are different.
And I don't think I'll be giving anything away. I think there's a really especially compelling moment in the film when you have Matt's ring walk into the octagon and you see all the people screaming, but you don't hear a thing. I just thought, man, that's just intense. That scene just really kind of clarified everything.
Yeah, we when we wrote the script, we wrote it with the deaf perspective in mind, and I think you know, we struggled when to use it in the editing room, but you know, I think the script kind of mapped it out for us, and I think in the editing room we switched it around a little bit, but I think it was definitely important for us to kind of use deaf perspective to allow, you know, hearing audience to see what it's like, you know, what it's like to be in Matt's shoes, or, you know, to be in a deaf person's shoes, because a lot of times people just don't think about it. But, you know, I mean, you know, so we thought it was interesting, and I think it works in the movie for the most part.
As I'm saying this, I'm just thinking to myself, we need to subtitle this interview.
Yeah.
No, really?
We should.
Yeah.
At least have the option where you could click on subtitles, you know.
No, we need to do that. Get on that, Wade. I do want to talk about the reality of the movie in that you have Rich Franklin, who's a professional UFC fighter, in it. I want to know how you did get involved with the UFC. How much did they help you? And because, you know, obviously you need to get the real feel for everything. So how did you recruit Matt? I mean, how did you recruit Rich to join you in the film?
Yeah, with Rich and even with the UFC, we lucked out a lot. And when Joe and I were writing this, we always thought that would be great if we could have some of the UFC footage in the film, but we never knew if that was going to become a possibility. And then luckily, Joe and I were at one of Matt's fights. We met Dana White, and he was initially not receptive, but he at least opened the door enough where he's like, just send me some stuff.
Where were you?
We were at the Playboy Club at the Palms Hotel, okay? And we had a couple drinks in us and had some liquid courage, and went up to him and kind of did my pitch, and I heard he was big into the technology and social media, so I had some stuff to show him on the phone. And you know, Dana White gets a lot of...
You have to watch this, don't look at it.
That's probably what I did, too.
You did.
But, yeah, he was receptive enough that he eventually allowed us to show him footage and give him some more information, and then he liked the film and allowed us to use parts of the Matt Hamill walking out. I don't want to give away too much of the film, but some footage in the film. And then in regard to Rich Franklin, Rich and Matt are both from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Rich actually kind of helped Matt get into the UFC. And so because Rich is now getting into acting and trying to find some things to do after his fighting career, we thought he would be a great,
Rich can act,
character.
Rich was good.
Yeah, and he actually took it really, he came in, we were, you have to get your shots in a certain amount of time. We were a little nervous that he wouldn't come in and have it all prepared, and he actually came in and nailed it, so.
I was trying to talk to him on set one time. He's like, actually, do you mind? I got to go work on my lines a little bit. Look at him.
Well, and that's why he's a good fighter, too. He's dedicated. He's a smart man. He's a former math teacher and everything. Yeah. Rich is for real.
Hey, we talked to I know there's someone doing a movie about Rich, but we talked to Rich and his manager about his story, because I thought he had an interesting story too, being a math teacher, but I think someone else is doing it, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. We didn't have the funds. No, I don't know. We also had our hands full of just telling Matt's story.
What was Matt's reaction the first time he saw the finished product?
I think he was overwhelmed. I mean, honestly, he was taken back. I mean, I think it must be an odd thing to see your life kind of in a movie. So I mean, he was overwhelmed, and I think it brought up a lot of kind of emotions and feelings about his relationship with his grandfather, and who was very important to him, and I think he's really happy with it.
Yeah, I think that also it's not just Matt Hamill, but also the people that influence his life, his coaches, his family members. I know, for example, his grandmother, his grandfather was really a pivotal person who kind of raised him and gave him a lot of the guidance, and has since passed away. But his grandmother is still alive, and she came to, I think, the Cleveland International Film Festival, and she was crying afterwards, just saying that, how touching it was to see, her late husband being portrayed, and that, she was really complimentary of us in the film, and I thought that was, something special.
Well, the movie does open October 27th in theaters, but it's been on the festival circuit for a while, so why don't you guys go ahead and brag and talk about all the awards it's won?
8 for 8.
Nice.
We've played 8 festivals, and we've won the audience award at every festival. Actually, 1 jury award.
Which I think, audience awards I think are most important too, because the politics and stuff about jury awards is sometimes questionable, and audience awards is the audience actually votes for it, which I think is really cool. So they're enjoying the film, which we thought it'd have some success because it's definitely an audience pleasing film, but we never thought it would go 8 for 8. I mean, big festivals too.
Yeah, we go, for our premiere in Los Angeles, we had a stacked crowd, if you will, and so it was a little, we won the award there, and then as we started playing across the country, we had no connections or ties to parts of the country, and everyone, loves the film when they see it, and it's interesting too. The Q&A sessions afterwards, we'll have the majority of the audience stay in the afterwards and ask questions, and their interest, I think, is just shows that I think this film has a wide audience. And if we can just get people in that first weekend to see it, I think that it'll grow, and I think we'll have a good chance of doing a pretty good theatrical.
Cool. Well, I'll go on a stump for you anytime you want, because I really thought it was terrific. Really great story, and just a lot of emotional depth to it, and a great sports movie at the same time, and just a great night out at the movies. Even though I didn't have to pay for the ticket.
Yeah.
And I have to say something about MMA Heat as well. MMA Heat, Karyn and Wade, you guys have been great to us since the beginning, and we definitely appreciate all the support.
Our pleasure, absolutely. Well, Eben and Joe, thank you guys so much, and folks, you should definitely check it out.
TheHammerFilm.com.
That's right. Go check out The Hammer in theaters, and take a friend.